Alright, this is for the color alteration assignment. You will see the assignment color alteration, and there's a color alteration template that you work with. So we've got the before and we have the after. So for one thing, you have to make sure that you're on the correct one. So altered is the top one, so I'll make sure I'm on that layer. And once again, if you want to go to like original and lock it so you don't mess it up. Now you need to use selection tools. So for example, I'll just zoom in on this top one. And I'll zoom in on the red car. And you get as much of it as you can. And you'll probably find that there are some areas that are tough to get, and they might be easier, in fact, to select later. So I just get the most of it. Remember, if you hold down Alt, you can subtract selections, because I don't want to tint my wheel. And so now that I've got that selected, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on Hue and Saturation. And as I click and drag with Hue, I can just completely change the color of my car. So go ahead and, choose a color. I actually kind of really like that blue. Now I can see there are places that I've missed though. So you make sure that you have this. This is a hue saturation mask, meaning everything that's white is what is affected and everything that's black is not. So if I have white and I have my paintbrush, and I'll probably need to zoom in so I can get things and make my brush a little smaller, but I can paint with white to fix anywhere that I can still see that kind of reddish from the car. Hue and saturation doesn't really affect things that are black and white. If it is being affected, it's only because there's a little bit of color being reflected off of it. So that's why I can kind of paint over the black parts of the car and it's not changing anything. You can see that there's the inside of the car has that reddish orange, so I'll just paint that while I'm here. You can see if I'm coloring too much, it does the opposite, so you got to be careful. If you press X on your keyboard, it switches between black and white. Black gets rid of. White brings it back. Whoops. Make sure I'm on my paintbrush and I'm on white. Okay. So then you just go and you touch up so that you can't see any of the original color of the car. And the idea is that if you do a good job with this, this is the art of photoshopping in that people won't even know that this car was ever a different color originally. Because if you choose a color that is realistic and then do a good job of, making sure you get all the little details, then it just looks like it was a nice bright blue car to begin with. Okay, so the idea is that no one can tell that that's what it used to look like. Now, if you look at the rubric, you'll see you need to alter 2 cars, 3 doors, and 1 building, not to mention having the text. So if you look, here are your 3 doors. There's the other car. And then you can choose any one of these buildings. For me, to be honest, easiest thing is I just take the polygon lasso tool and select this outer building. And I'm actually just going to kind of do a somewhat sloppy selection because I'll go back and I'll clean it up when I'm done. So hue and saturation. And, adjust it in such a way that it's a believable house color. So if you wanted to do something like this, I would recommend that you lower the saturation a little bit, because then it looks like a slightly more dull color instead of being that bright color. Now you can see that because I was really sloppy with everything though, everything changed. You could leave the door because you needed to change the door color anyways. However, you can't leave things like the bushes. So if I take my paintbrush and paint it with black, and I'll make it, bigger to start. So I'll just go and kind of fix certain areas. So you just go ahead and don't leave anything a weird color that shouldn't be. So you changed the building, but I don't want you to be changing the plants. The plants should still look like they're a normal color. You also might notice that the window looks really ugly because it used to have a kind of cool mosaic going on. So if you paint that, you can see, oh yeah, that looks much better. Looks cool again. Even just the windows, you'll see that they used to look like nice kind of white curtains, and when I did hue and saturation, it made them look all grungy and ugh. So I'll just kind of clean those up so they look nice again. Same thing with the windows. They used to look good. And in fact, with the windows, you honestly could use the polygon select tool to get the windows. Because then I can go with my paintbrush and just make it large. Okay. Now the one more thing I'll go over with you is the doors, specifically this blue one, because it's a little tricky. So I would just take, once again, polygon lasso, select through the fence, because the fence is kind of a grayish color, so it won't be affected by hue and saturation very much. And once again, when you're dealing with hue and saturation in these oh, now I've just lost what they are, layer masks. Sometimes it's easier to just change it and then go back with your paintbrush and fix things. So switch it to white and just, you know, double check, get in the areas that are still dark blue. Actually, I did a pretty good job with this. Just get the little edges. And frankly, I think that looks pretty good. So when you do this door, make sure you get the whole thing. So you see how it's almost like the brick got painted red? Well, you change a red door, you change this to match. Okay, so just make sure that you add your name and the name of this assignment, color alteration, somewhere in here, you know, pick a corner or something. Save it as a JPEG. And don't forget that it should be 2 cars, 3 of the doors, and 1 building gets changed. Make sure it looks good. I didn't take the time to finish everything. There's still 1 window that looks grungy. Make it consistent is the big thing. Okay, so just turn that into canvas and you are done.